What is going on, everyone? It is Zach, the Purdue fan here, back with another video, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to be doing this for the first time this season, and I'm going to be looking to continue it going on throughout the Big Ten season, but today we are going to be picking the winners for every single Big Ten game this week. Now, disclaimer alert, I am not going to be picking the Purdue and Illinois game that is coming up this Saturday, tomorrow, as of the recording of this video. Saturday, 2 days from the recording of this video. And I also won't be picking Nebraska at Wisconsin, or I don't know if that game, it was supposed to be Wisconsin at Nebraska, but that game got canceled due to COVID-19 reasons. The Wisconsin program had a couple positive cases by like 6 players and 6 coaches, including their starting quarterback Graham Mertz and their head coach Paul Chryst. First game that, before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below some video ideas you want to see in the future, and also on Saturday at around 10:30 a.m. Central Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be having a live stream for the Purdue at Illinois game. It's going to be on Big Ten Network, and I'm going to be live streaming my reaction here on the Zach the Purdue fan channel. So subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I go live for the Illinois game. And without further ado, let's get right into our picks. Alright, so the first game we are going to be talking about is the Minnesota Golden Gophers are traveling to College Park to take on the Maryland Terrapins. Last week, Minnesota lost 49-24 against the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan, they looked really good that game. Minnesota, the defense looked kind of shaky, giving up about 50 points. Tanner Morgan went 18 out of 31 with 1 touchdown, throwing for about 200 yards. The running back had 26 carries, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If we look at the team stats for their game against Michigan, they had 326 total yards to Michigan's 481. 197 of them passing and 129 of them rushing. They did have 2 turnovers that game. But let's talk about Maryland a little bit. Maryland last week played in Evanston against the Northwestern Wildcats. They lost 43-3. Did not look good. Talia Tagovailoa didn't look too good. He went 14 out of 25 with only 94 yards and 3 interceptions. The running back Funk, leading rusher that game, had 6 carries and 35 yards. If we look at the team stats, they had 207 total yards and gave up 537, only 143 passing and 64 rushing. I think this is a pretty simple pick. Minnesota has, I think, is the better team on paper and also on the field. You got Tanner Morgan under center for the Golden Gophers, and you got Rashad Bateman in the slot, and I think this will be a big bounce-back game for the Gophers. I think Minnesota heads to College Park and exits with a W. The next game up on our list is the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Michigan State traveling to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. Michigan, as I talked about in the last game, had a 49-24 win over Minnesota. Milton, their quarterback, went about 15-22, threw for about 170 yards and had a touchdown. Their running back had a couple of touchdowns. They had about 420 yards of total offense. Took care of the ball as well, no turnovers. And defense only gave up 24 points and forced 2 turnovers. Michigan, just an all-around good performance against a solid Minnesota team. But if you look at Michigan State, they're coming off a 38-27 loss against Rutgers, who has been at the cellar of the Big Ten Conference since they entered, and I think about 2014, maybe later than that. But Rocky Lombardi went 31 out of 43 with 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Simmons had 14 carries for 43 yards. Reed had 11 catches, 130 yards with 2 touchdowns. And the one thing that I'm going to talk about is the defense and their and the way they took care of the ball. Michigan State 7 turnovers against a Rutgers defense who it wasn't good at all whatsoever last year. They had two interceptions and 5 fumbles. They also gave up 40 points against a Rutgers team who has just been god awful since they've joined the Big Ten. I think this is another easy pick for me. I'm going to take Michigan to win the Paul Bunyan Trophy over Sparty. The next game I'm going to talk about is a very interesting one and a very tough one to pick for me. Indiana traveling to Piscataway, New Jersey, to play against Rutgers. Indiana, let's talk about them. They are coming off a 36-35 overtime win over a Penn State team who I have very low expectations. We'll talk about Penn State later in the video, but let's talk about IU. Penix Jr. Went 19 out of 36, 170 yards and 1 touchdown. Scott the third for IU had 20 carries, 57 yards, and scored 2 touchdowns. But IU, I mean, they looked good against a solid. I mean, Penn State's a solid team. I mean, they're not gonna. I mean, when they play Michigan and teams like that, I don't think they'll win. But Penn State, I'm very low on them. But we'll talk about them, like I said, later in the video. But IU, yeah, solid win against Penn State. I mean, offense put up almost 40 points, but the defense gave up 35. I think if you need to win games in the Big Ten, you gotta either score more or give up less. You know what I mean? So, but let's talk about Rutgers. Rutgers looked absolutely amazing last week against Michigan State. They forced 7 turnovers, scored 40 points. Vertil went 18 out of 29 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Pacheco, I think it's how you say his name, had 19 carries, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This game took a lot of thought into picking. The thing about Rutgers is that I really don't know if they're legit yet. And you're gonna see me talk about Northwestern later, but I think I really have to see one more solid win or solid game out of the Scarlet Knights before I think they're legit. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Hoosiers to escape Piscataway with a win. I think it's going to be very, very close than the experts think. And like I said, how we're going to be talking about Northwestern later in the video. Wildcat fans, here you go. Northwestern is traveling to Kinnick Stadium, a very tough place to play, but with low crowds, it is going to be a very different atmosphere than Big Ten teams are used to when you travel to Iowa City to take on Kirk Ferentz's Iowa Hawkeyes. But that's who Northwestern's playing this week. They're playing Iowa. Last week, Northwestern looked very good in a convincing win over the Terps, but Payne Ramsey, new quarterback this year, transferred from IU. He went 23 out of 30, threw for 220 yards and had a touchdown. Anderson, the running back, had 103 yards and a touchdown. Let's look at team stats. They had 537 total yards of offense, 212 of them passing, 325 of them on the ground, and they took care of the ball really well, had no turnovers. I mean, an all-around good performance, only giving up 3 points to a Maryland team that really doesn't have any offense. I mean, I think they will improve over the course of the year, but Tua's little brother, Talia, learning the new system over there in College Park, but which I think is going to take some time, especially with the low amount of time to prepare with the pandemic and all that. But Northwestern, an all-around good performance against Maryland. But let's talk about Iowa. Iowa, I mean, they did not look like the typical Iowa team that Big Ten fans are used to seeing. Spencer Petras, which I do think is going to be good someday, but didn't really look good against the Purdue defense, who was unexperienced last year, but I think New defensive coordinator Bob Diaco, who used to be at UConn a while back. Don't know the last place he was. Heck, it may be UConn, who knows. But, I mean, I should know this stuff, but I can't think of it now. But Petrus, 265 yards, no passing touchdowns, and went 22 out of 39. Goodson, the running back, had 16 carries for 17 yards. Iowa didn't take care of the ball well. They had 2 turnovers. Both of them were fumbles. They had 460 yards of total offense, 265 of them in the air, 195 of them on the ground. I do think Iowa will have a bounce-back game. And the thing with Northwestern is I said the same thing about Rutgers. I need to see another good performance or a good win out of the Wildcats before I really think of them as a legitimate good team. They played Maryland last week, who is going to be at the bottom, like how Rutgers was. And I think Rutgers will still be there, but they will be a better team and a better-looking team than most Big Ten fans are used to seeing. But I do think the Iowa Hawkeyes will take down Pat Fitzgerald's Wildcats. I kind of can't take Northwestern literally until I see them have another. Like, if Northwestern wins this game against Iowa, I will see them as a legitimate good team. But after playing Maryland week 1, I can't really tell if they're going to be a good team. This is a good test for the Wildcats, but I think Iowa and Kirk Ferentz's squad will bounce back after the loss in West Lafayette. I'm going to be taking the Iowa Hawkeyes in this one. All right, in the last game, we are going to pick. Hold on, let me adjust my camera real quick. Okay, there we go. The last game we're going to pick here in this video is Penn State at home against Ohio State. Let's talk about Penn State. Penn State didn't really look too good against Indiana. They lost 36-35 in overtime, as I said previously in this video. Sean Clifford went 24 out of 35, throwing for 240 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Devin Ford had 20 carries for 69 yards and had a touchdown. Let's take a look at team stats here. Hold on. Come on, ESPN. They had 488 total yards offense, 238 in the air, and 250 on the ground. Had 3 turnovers, 1 fumble, and 2 interceptions. Now, here's the thing about Penn State. I do think Penn State will be fine. I mean, if you're putting up 500 yards offense, you're scoring 35 points. Clifford's throwing for 250 to 300 yards a game. I do think that's Penn State is fine offensively, but defensively is where the Nittany Lions have to get better. Michael Parsons, first-round projected pick linebacker, he opted out, who is obviously a vital point for James Franklin's defense. And I think Penn State, the defense just has to get better. Your offense is fine. I mean, you put up 500 yards of total offense. You scored 35 points. But the defense is what has to get better if the Nittany Lions want to win some games this year. But now let's talk about Ohio State. Ohio State looked very good in a convincing win over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Justin Fields went 20 out of 21, throwing for 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was also your leading rusher at 15 carries, 54 yards, a touchdown. Trey Simon looked good for the Buckeyes, had 48 yards, no touchdowns. Master T looked better, though. He had 12 carries, 41 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The defense also played well, only giving up 17 points. And hold on a second. They did give up 30 can't talk. It's late. Bear with me. They did give up 370 yards of total offense, 160 in the air, 210 on the ground, but you did hold Nebraska to 17 points, which is a good performance by the Buckeyes. Here's the thing. Penn State, very questionable on defense. No Micah Parsons. And as you can clearly see, Ohio State is a very good offensive team. Justin Fields, best quarterback in the Big Ten, top 3 in the country. I think They had 491 yards against the Nebraska defense, 276 in the air, and 215 on the ground. They had no turnovers. So Ohio State, very disciplined team. Don't turn the ball over, score a lot of points, high-powered offense. I think that is too much for the Nittany Lions. I think Ohio State wins big in Happy Valley on ABC in primetime. All right, so those are my predictions for Week 2. Excuse me, in the Big Ten. And just to go over them real quick, I have Minnesota beating Maryland, Michigan beating Michigan State, Indiana escaping Piscataway in a very close game. I think the Hoosiers beat the Scarlet Knights. Iowa gets it done against Northwestern at home, and Ohio State obliterates Penn State in Happy Valley. Yep, so that's going to be it for this video. Just a quick few reminders. The Purdue and Illinois preview, similar to all these games, that will have a video of its own. No pick for Nebraska at Wisconsin at Nebraska. That game got canceled due to COVID-19 reasons. The Wisconsin Badgers had some positive tests within their program. And I'll also, at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, 11:30 Eastern Time, I will be having a live stream here on the Zach the Purdue Fan channel for the Purdue and Illinois game. The game starts at noon Eastern Time. Be there for that. But anyways, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, ring that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time for the Purdue Illinois Illinois Purdue game preview. And I will also see you here on the Zach the Purdue Fan channel for the live stream for the Purdue at Illinois game. Stay safe out there. Boiler up, hammer down, and hail Purdue.